I was like, we're going to blow the doors off. I'm going to have leads flowing in. We're going to get production ramped up. And I quickly found out that that's really not what happens when you take over a book of business.
In today's episode, Courtney and I sit down with Jake Gerdes, the #2 new agent in his company last year, and we're talking about how he achieved that #2 status, the successes he had in year one, how he eliminated all service from his plate by being 3 months in, the struggles he went through, and marketing strategies to acquire new business. With that being said, let's start the show. Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your hosts, Michael and Courtney Weaver, and we have a very special guest with us today, Jake Gerdes. Jake, what's going on, man?
Not too much. Honored, thrilled to be here. Kind of a surreal moment. I remember prepping to be an agent and listening to this podcast on repeat. So getting to be a guest is a super honor, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, buddy. Well, we are pumped to have you. I mean, when you're the #2 new agent in a company of over 20,000 agents last year, it's like, Jake, you got to come on the buzz, baby. We got to know what's going on.
We got to talk about it. We got to know, how did you get to #2? Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, let's dive right in. I guess we'll start there. A little bit of a pinch me moment after that first 12 rolling months ended, and we finished with the #2 ranking there. I always start like this journey. I've had many agents already ask me, be like, well, how did you do it? I was like, get yourself as the agent out of service as quickly as possible. What I mean by that is when I first started, I was like, we're going to blow the doors off. I'm going to have leads flowing in. We're going to get production ramped up. And I quickly found out that that's really not what happens when you take over a book of business. I got the good fortune of taking over a book of business, but there's a lot of service that comes with that for sure. So I knew as quickly as possible, I wanted to get to the part of production and sales and the things that I'm good at in terms of training and getting a team up to speed, but it just takes time. I mean, day one, we had a customer who had a house fire, and I was totally unprepared for that. And so it was just something that we needed to make sure that we get service buttoned up so we can grow and expand as quick as possible.
I'm curious if you can quantify when you say we had a lot of service day one. What exactly do you mean by that?
Well, I'm in a pretty rural market. We do service, the whole entire state, but where our office is centrally located is fairly rural. So in terms of the amount of service load, was just the amount of inbound calls and walk-in traffic that I was just not prepared for. You go through training, and I've been with this company in a myriad of roles, for the last 7 years, but you get all those phone calls coming in and you're expecting to just be smiling and dialing, like, right? That's I thought, you're going to be smiling and dialing. And I was like, no, we're going to be taking care of Bob to make sure that, this claim goes smoothly. But I had been told time and time again, get your team, get staffed up as quickly as possible. And it just took a little bit longer than I had hoped, but I share, and I will share time and time again, I'm incredibly grateful for the team that I have. I've been told, before I was an agent, that you get a team that's going to take care of your customers. You take care of your team because they'll take care of them, and then your customers in turn are going to take care of you. So, so that's that piece. I will say that moving from the service to the sales, aspect of things where I was basically removed and my team just blocks me from all of that at this point has allowed us to really flourish. And it took about 3 months to do that. But once we got going, we were humming.
Okay, so I was going to ask that question. So you want to get completely out of service. It took you about 3 months to get the team trained to where you really aren't doing any service at all.
Yeah, I would say that that's probably pretty darn close in terms of that timeline, where we have now 2 people who are specifically dedicated to service. We have another 2 salespeople and are looking to bring on a 3rd salesperson, which is going to further remove me out of sales entirely. But that timeline was 3 months for sure. We launched in September of 2023, which, oh my gosh, feels like 5 years at this point. It's not that long. But yeah, 3 months. I would say by Jan 1 of 2024, we were hitting the ground running, and that's when our agent ranking was starting to climb month over month over month.
Okay. So you're roughly a year and a half in. So I'd be
Yeah.
interested to know, like, what does your role look like right now? Are you still in personal production, producing PC, financial services, meeting with customers? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, I will say that's something consciously that I'm working with and grappling with right now. I've I've been told by my team like I'm a sled dog, like I always want to lead from the pack, and so removing myself from that production aspect is a bit of a challenge. But I will say as the months go by, the less PNC production that I do, and the more just basic conversations in terms of, hey, we're going to talk financial services. My team's going to write the PNC business. Hopefully, they get some life at the point of sale as well. But they're setting it up for me. All paths lead to a deeper, more simple conversation with Jake where we're going to uncover a bigger need.
I want to go back to the beginning because you said in the beginning you were doing sales and service, and in a 90-day time frame you had pulled service and
Yeah.
you were focused primarily on sales. I would love for you to kind of walk through the steps that got you to that point, because that's a short time frame
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
completely pull service with an existing book of business.
Whew. I will say that so I started with 3 team members and myself, and quickly found out that I needed to bring on another person dedicated towards service. And I don't know if it was by osmosis or as the fates would have it, somebody who had experience and was service oriented kind of just fell into my lap. And that happened right in November. And so that was, you're approaching day 90. I had already transitioned myself a little bit out of service, was still doing a little bit here and there, but getting a service-oriented team member plus training another service-oriented person, so having 2 fully dedicated, just allowed me to remove myself, and then training the other 2 people up on sales. That was, right around day 60 to 90. And in terms of, I guess, the training process was knowing how to take care of billing, because that's I would say 50 to 60% of the inbound calls we get service related are just around billing alone, and then having someone solely focused to claims. Like I had one person who's going to do 90% of the claims. One other person can maybe do 10% that are less complex. So being more specialized, I guess, is really ultimately what we're moving towards. We're still getting there. People in the office right now, our team can still on any given day do anything if they needed to, but I'm trying to specialize those roles more and more.
So with the specialization, is your service team responsible for income producing activities like pivoting, creating new sales opportunities? What does that look like?
They are. So I have the 2 service, I will say inbounds, making sure that they are pivoting to, low-hanging fruit in terms of life insurance or a conversation to have a deeper conversation with myself. Yes, we're making sure that they're pivoting, but at the same time, I mentioned it a little bit before we were chatting, that my other service person is also a new customer onboarding specialist. So what she does is day 7, and I'm all about efficiency and consistency. And I think that in terms of being successful long term, to avoid those high peaks and valleys, you have to have consistent processes. And implementing that new customer onboarding specialist piece for one of my service team members has been integral. So I'll elaborate a little bit more on day 7. Basically, anything that my sales team may have missed, that person's calling them on day 7. Day 6, we're sending them a subliminal message, basically being like, hey, we're going to call you tomorrow about this, this, and this, just so you know it's coming. Day 7 happens. My new customer onboarding specialist will call them and say, hey, either you have life insurance, that's great. We'd love to set up an appointment for you to chat with Jake, talk a little bit about why you chose this, what other needs you may have, when's a good time to sit down with you, or connect with you virtually. If we didn't get maybe that 3rd or 4th line of business, she's also, I guess for lack of better words, kind of an assassin in that way, where she's saying, hey, you have auto and home, and to pick your poison, right? If they have a home, they have a mortgage. We noticed that you didn't go with mortgage protection. Is there any reason that maybe you didn't? And that's just a light bulb moment to say, oh, well, here's a life insurance policy that could protect that mortgage. Or, maybe they have death, dismemberment coverage. Is it important for you to have coverage outside of an automobile accident in the form of life insurance? So it's day 7 is really my +1 person to uncover those needs. And I will tell you that when we implemented that person, which took even a little bit longer, so, you had service day 90, maybe day 120, new customer onboarding was taking effect. And from that point on, I would say you're looking at, increasing your applications for life insurance on a consistent basis month over month just by that one person having that role.
So day 6, is that a text message that gets sent to them or an
It's
email?
it's an email.
Okay.
It's just a basic template that is underlying a simple conversation. Hey, we're going to call you and we're going to discuss these type of things. Do you have your mortgage protected? Do you have your loan protected? We're going to call you tomorrow and discuss these things and go a little bit deeper in terms of a conversation. So, yeah.
Got it. Okay. And then she calls them on day 7, and she's kind of like the cleanup crew. Like
Absolutely.
she's going in and okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and kind of putting the onus on us in that moment too, being like, you know what, it might have been our bad. Did we not talk to you about this? Just kind of breaking that ice right out of the gate and just saying, we're going to talk about this and just have a conversation about it. I've heard time and time again how all the people that have been on this podcast, how important those deeper conversations are. I think the philosophy in terms of when we even hire somebody, I'm always asking them, do you believe in life insurance? And the reason for that is I've seen too many scenarios where it's played a positive factor if they have it, and it's just been a detriment to a family, for many years to come if they don't. So, we believe in it for many reasons, and that's specifically one of them for sure.
And this is so I love this process. Is we had one that was very similar, but it sounds like what you're doing. So instead of like we used to actually set the appointment right when we'd close the business. So we would set it like that was just what was that was part of our process. The salesperson closed the business, automatically set up the onboarding appointment. It sounds like what you're doing, your process is we call on day 7 and you are almost qualifying the lead before you try to set that onboarding appointment. Is that fair?
Yeah, I would say that because there's a lot of times where I'll be totally honest. It's something that I'm trying to make the business a bit more sticky, because things go so quickly at the point of sale these days, where I almost have to train my team to sit on their hands in the sales conversation. But if it's a lead that is calling at 5 o'clock in the evening, they got to go take their kids, drop them off. Like it's going to be quick. They want their auto and their renter's insurance right now, or their auto and their home insurance right now, and it's going to be like, okay, well, we're going to follow up with you on day 7. Just be aware of that, and then we're going to go a little bit deeper at that point. And then that sets the stage. Day 7, we're going to call them. Maybe we don't get them on the phone, but then we're going to set the follow-up to try again and again and again. I know that there's statistics out there that say that if you don't get somebody within the first 30 days, you're likely to never get them for another line of business. So it's like just continue to be relentless at that day 7 mark for sure.
Okay, I'm curious because we have had so many really great conversations with newer agents in the past few weeks. I'm curious if you had to go back and look at what your days looked like in the beginning versus what your days look like now, what would be the difference in how you've structured your day, where your time is spent?
Yeah, that is a really, really good question. I would say that when I first started, it was like doing a lot of hands-on training and taking questions on the fly from customers, or maybe taking a lot more transfers from my team when more complex situations. I would say today it's allowed me to do more of maybe the fun stuff, which is a little bit of the marketing. I love marketing. Shameless plug, follow me on social media, right? I do a fair bit amount of that, which is fun. It allows me to do those things as well as train my team and allow me to work on the business as opposed to in the business, making sure that I'm doing my due diligence, recruiting, training. So my day-to-day has changed as opposed to I'm sitting here and I'm working X amount of leads. I'm taking X amount of phone calls to now I'm actually getting to do, 3 appointments a day, time blocking for marketing, getting to have great conversations with people such as yourselves, in these situations. So when I, first started, that wouldn't have been possible. It felt like I was glued to the seat for 12 hours a day and then trying to do everything else outside of those 12 hours.
Yeah. I love it. So since we're talking about,
Yeah, let's get into marketing.
well, before we get into marketing, I got to know, because
I got all excited. I'm like,
I do want to get into marketing because you do have a mean social media. Like, you do a fantastic job. I see you you're very involved in your community. You do a lot of fun things and you show it. You do a lot of videos. So I do want to get into marketing, but you've already shared one process with us that has led to your success with the onboarding. I would be curious as to what was one process that you wish you would have known, or maybe something you wish you would have known year one that you had to learn the hard way that you would love to share today to where newer agents don't have to go through that same struggle.
Oh, great question.
That is a really great question. I'm gonna cheat, and I'm gonna say it's something that I think that I implemented that allowed us to ramp up speed in terms of sales quicker, maybe than some of the other agents who launched around the same time I did. And I would say that most offices now run on a CRM based model, right? Ours is no different. But what has allowed us to be super efficient is on the sales side, a lead comes in, regardless of maybe it's a win back customer, you're working old win backs. Maybe it's somebody who we quoted 6 months ago. Maybe it's somebody that's an internet lead. It's a social media lead. We have a template that is built into our CRM to follow up with them, which takes out all of the guesswork. So lead comes in, my sales team goes down to the bottom right-hand corner, clicks a button based on the specific lead that comes in, and it sets a 30-day follow-up plan. Guesswork done. So that was the biggest thing. I was like, I don't want my team to have to think about following up. I want them to just be able to work on that deeper conversation, right? Because that's where the magic happens. Like, I think that agents stress about, we're getting all these leads, but our conversion percentage is, terrible. It's because you're not consistently following up with them. That's what it boils down to. I mean, in our team meetings, my team laughs at me because I go, all right, here we go. What are we going to talk about today? And on my wall, it says consistency compounds. I will die on the hill of consistency with anything. And that makes no difference in terms of it's running a business, training for a marathon, which we talked about, makes no difference in terms of investing in the stock market, right? It's, Warren Buffett always says it's the fool who tries to time the market. It's the man who stays in the market for the longest period of time that makes the most money. And why would I try and, go against the word of maybe the best investor of all time? So I use that in the day-to-day, and that's how our office, I think in sales, has allowed us to stay consistent. We avoid those high peaks and valleys, and it allows us in terms of scalability. The next person that I bring on, I know that, hey, here's our follow-up process. What's going to be fun is you're going to know that you're just following up with this person on day 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it may be. But I'm going to be sitting here coaching you when you get them on the phone, and we're going to be getting into those juicy details of, did you hear that? And we're going to pivot to those other lines. So it allows for greater training opportunities as opposed to worrying about, do I follow up tomorrow or the next day? No, you don't need to think about that.
Fortunes in the follow-up, baby. That's back in the day we used to call those SMP, sequential marketing programs, man. I had that built out very similar, like with 90-day and then 5-month follow-up. But I love that you shared that, because the easier you can make it on your team, the easier you can make it on yourself, the automation process, the efficiency. This is just how it's done. No guesswork. That's a huge tip. So thanks, Jake. So now let's talk some marketing.
Well, before we get into that, because I know you just sparked my memory, because this morning, because Michael and I are on a huge health kick. Yeah. And we were talking about habits, and we were talking about like consistency and structure. And the light bulb moment that I had this morning is when you have a plan like that, like your marketing plan and your follow-up plan and all of these things that are built out into your CRM, what you remove is the negotiation and the bargaining that you make with yourself. Absolutely. Number one, you don't have to create it. And number two, you don't have to go through that like, oh, maybe I can do it tomorrow, or maybe I can do it today, or maybe now's not a good time because they're sitting down for dinner, or whatever those things are. The more you can eliminate that, the greater space you have to have those conversations, to just like jump in and be like, this is just part of the plan. This is what I have to do.
If it's on the calendar, it gets done.
Yes. All right. Now I'm ready to talk about marketing. So as a new agent, I would love to know, has your marketing plan shifted from the beginning to where you're at now? So you went through 2023, you went through possible TCPA changes, social media. What does that look like for you? Where are you finding your great leads? Where are they coming from?
Wow. Okay. I had a series of questions that I thought I was going to be ready for. Yeah, you guys are hitting me with really good ones though. I'm like, I'm jumping back into my prior roles here. No, how has it changed? I would say so. We still do. And I was just breaking this down with another agent the other day. We probably get 50% of our leads from lead generating services. So your basic lead vendors that are out there. Um, for what it's worth, they all end up closing at about the same percentage if you're following up with them consistently.
Mm.
My thing is just making sure that the funnel is filled at the top. What does that mean? I need to make sure that my team is getting X amount of leads, regardless of where they're coming from. And I know that if I have that filled at the top, it's going to filter down and we're going to get X amount of production at the end of the day. I would say that we've probably gotten more leads from lead generating services because we have more staff and I'm able to do that. At the same time, our I am such an advocate for organic marketing in terms of you get a Google review, follow up with an SEO based response. So then your search results shoot up higher in terms of Google. So it's super meticulous in terms of trying to make sure that we appear higher on Google just naturally. Uploading photos with specific keywords that rank you higher than the next person down the road in terms of Google search. So those little types of things, but I will say, doing social media posts, specific social media posts based on the type of calls that we're going to be making for a given week. So, we're getting ready to do what's going to be a life series on our social media because we're going to be doing a lot of life insurance calls here in the month of May. So being specific and strategic to that, in terms of how it's changed, just to kind of elaborate even a little bit further, I would say that I don't know that it's changed a whole lot. I think that if I fall back onto that consistency piece, we just keep doing things consistently over and over again. We do events each quarter, or at least we try to, and those are gonna hard to maybe track ROI on that. But I know that my brand's getting out there and people are talking about us and the phone's ringing. And so if our phones keep ringing at the clip that they're ringing at, I'm going to continue to do an event a quarter. We're going to boost a social media post here and there. I don't know. Maybe that's not the best answer, but I think it just doing things consistently over a period of time is going to continue to get you the leads that you're looking for and the production that you hopefully get from all of it.
I love that. Okay, so I'm going to unpack that a little bit more because we're going to get into social media. And I hear a lot of pushback still on social media that it's a time suck. I would love to. Oh, yeah. Okay. We're already got a. All right. Let's go for it. Give me your response. What's been your success? What have you found to be true about social media and marketing?
That's, I feel like over the last few weeks since the beginning of the year, that is something that I have struggled a little bit in terms of stale content. Trying to differentiate. It's like, how do I become a differentiator versus everybody else? I would say that making yourself more relatable in the office is probably the biggest thing. Like we do a lot of in-office videos, like little snippets, reels, that I think help set us up. Now, I think, Michael, if they have been your book that said this, but get up in the morning and plan out your social media posts on a Sunday. Like that's something that has allowed me to be successful in the social media game. You time block on a Sunday morning, you're having your cup of coffee. What am I going to do this week? And then you schedule those posts out. Like I have a post going out tonight at 6:00. Like I already know what's going out. I filmed it on Saturday or whatever it was, but just being diligent and always having things in the can, I think really, really helps in terms of that social media marketing aspect of it. I think that there's still so much relevance to it because I know how much time people spend on their phones. And if I can be there for, a popping up here based on, a post that I put out there, and then subliminally, they're also hearing me on, an ad for Spotify or Pandora. And then they also see a little quick ad. Like I just want to be everywhere, anywhere, all the time. I joked with my sales leader at one point when I was getting hired. I go, if I could find a way to hit like all senses, including smell, in terms of marketing, I would. I just haven't found the way to captivate that. So I'm in there visually. I'm in their ear, like in terms of Spotify ads. if I could just figure out a way to be like, hey, come to the office and get a cheese pizza
Coffee.
on Jake. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, if you're an agent, get some Cincy's in your office, because that is
yeah.
a way to keep people coming back. We have
Oh,
so
yeah.
many people talk to us about how good our office smells. So a little fun
It's gotta
fact
feel
there.
like
Oh my
home.
gosh.
You were the queen
I
of
just
that.
had a flashback. Yeah. So I love that you bring that up. We call that omnipresence. That's where you
Yeah.
are everywhere. Like they
Yeah.
can't not, they're
Was it
like
everywhere all at once?
all at once.
Yes.
It's like just bombard. But I took such pride in making sure that when you walked into our office, you couldn't discern if it was a house, if it was an office, if this was like, did you just step back in time and smell grandma's cookies? Like, what is happening? I wanted that connection because scent is the strongest connection to memory. And so I wanted them to walk in and have this scent and be like, okay, this is how it feels. And they create an experience, because when somebody comes into an insurance office, for the most part, it's pretty freaking stale. Like you walk in there and you're like, okay, this does not, it feels like a doctor's office or a dentist's office or whatever. So making it more cozy drops that, like almost that guard a little bit of, okay, we have softened the space.
Yeah, you were the queen of that.
But I'm a psycho.
And
about
Jake,
that
I want to
experience.
give you credit real fast, because you said something like you're trying to figure out how you can be different, basically like your differentiator, and you're already differentiating yourself because you're consistent.
Right.
That is a big, big deal. Like you're consistently showing up in front of your audience on a weekly basis. And you haven't, look, I've been following you now since you've started, a little bit before that, because we connected before you started agency, and you consistently show up weekly. It's not like you show up 1 week and then you take 3 or 4 weeks off and then you show up again. No, you show up weekly, and consistency and being disciplined with that is the differentiator, like period. Like that's why you have the Kobe Bryants and the Michael Jordans. They were willing to be disciplined with what it took to be successful every single day, whereas others weren't. And so I just want to give you credit for that, because while you're searching for that differentiator and being genuine, you're already doing what it takes to be successful because you're disciplined with the process of showing up.
Well, thank you. That is very generous, and that is actually that's warming to hear. You know, you're your own biggest critic. You know, right at times, but that's really true. Back to that consistency piece. I was preparing for this podcast, and I'm like, man, they've had some mega agents on here. I'm like, you know, I'm, you know, we're not producing 1,000 apps a month, but not yet, right? Because it's something that we are consistently building towards. And if I continue to stay on this track, all I got to do is scale up, because we are setting the foundation today for the success of tomorrow. And I'll tell you what, I'd rather be consistently good as opposed to occasionally great any day of the week. So,
Mic drop.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that you bring that up. And I want to touch a little bit on mindset, because I think a lot of us have a ceiling of what we think is possible and what we think we are worthy of when it comes to success. And once we hit that ceiling, we'll do all of our things that we do to self-sabotage. So I'm curious, when you're listening to, you know, and I know who you're talking about all of these top agents that are number one in this line, and they're producing 1,000 apps, and they're, you know, having a 92% retention rate, like insane. What are you doing for your mindset to make sure that you're showing up and being the leader that you want to be?
That is, that starts with my alarm at 4:30 in the morning, like clockwork. I give myself a little bit of grace on the weekends, but I'm a firm believer of starting your day off with a win. And for me, that's get up, have a quick cup of coffee, write down in my journal anything that is maybe bothering me, you know, from the day before, or things that maybe will be obstacles throughout the day. And then I go out in the morning and I get a workout in. Right now it's running, dedicated to running, but that just gets my mindset, knowing that gets my mind right, knowing that I completed that workout. That's my win of the day. If the rest of the day goes sideways, I can fall back. Hey, you know what? I busted out 8 miles this morning on a run. I feel pretty good about myself. And it also keeps me level, right? I mean, I'm appreciative, and you know, you're on a morning run or a morning workout, whatever it may be. I get an opportunity to listen to podcasts that inspire me. Or you get a moment to yourself where you just get to reflect and be grateful for all that you've been bestowed with. And just that's how I start the day off. I also try to end the day with like a little bit of a calming session. I'm not so good about like meditating as I once was, but I know it's good and something to get back towards too. So yeah.
Win the morning, win the day, baby. I'm a firm believer. You're talking to a believer over here.
We just had this conversation and you were talking about this. You said, if I can do the hardest thing in the morning, if I
Absolutely.
can overcome that, then there's something that unlocks in my brain that I realize that everything else is just rolling down the hill. Like everything else is just gravy based on this. I've already done the hardest thing in my day.
Man, sitting in a sauna at 196 degrees for 30 minutes, like that is, it's not easy. And then jumping into a cold plunge right after, it's like, shit, if I can do that, I can do anything. And just like you just hinted at, Jake, like, whatever you're gonna have hurdles that come up on the day. You're gonna have bad moments, but when you just turn to, hey, the best part of my day has already happened. Like nothing can ruin that day. And I think there's something about accomplishing something first thing in the morning that just gets your mind right. Like you hinted to where when you get to the office, look, you're the leader. It's like stepping on, like I always relate this back to a sporting event, whether it's a basketball court, football field, baseball diamond, like whatever. Like when you step through those front doors, like you are the leader. Like you have to be the most positive, optimistic person when you go through that door. Because if there's stuff going on outside and you come in a bad attitude, that is going to automatically rub off on your team and set everyone up for failure that day. And so I agree 100% with you, Jake. Man, this has been awesome. You've been dropping bombs all day today, brother. If somebody wanted to like connect with you or follow you on social just to watch your amazing marketing that you're doing, how would they do that?
Yeah, I would say that I am probably the most communicative one-on-one on LinkedIn. So like, go check me out on LinkedIn, Jake Gerdes. You can find me there. I will respond to a DM on there within 24 hours, hopefully. If you want to just see some fun, like what we're doing in the office, go check us out on Facebook. We try to have the most fun on there, and that kind of translates to all the other marketing that we're doing. So, hey, it's been an honor. I appreciate you guys thinking of me and giving me the opportunity here to chat with you. It's been a blast.
This was so fun. I have so many notes. Oh, I love it.
This is fantastic. Jake, thank you. And for all of those of you tuning in right now, thank you so much for your support as always. Time and attention are by far our most important assets. And we truly do appreciate you spending time with us today, with Jake. And Jake, thanks again, brother. You brought it, man.
Yeah. Have a good one, y'all.